Coming up, flying low and slow off the farm.
Recreating the first cross-country airmail route.
Plus, a couple of sleek new singles could be coming to an airport near you.
And hear the story of a Civil Air Patrol mission on September 11th. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
See what others can't. Virtual 360 camera and the Audi Q7.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Warren Morningstar filling in for Alyssa Cobb.
As we record this, a small Air Force of volunteer pilots are recreating a significant event in U.S. history. 100 years ago this week, the first coast-to-coast airmail flight, forever changing the speed of postal service.
And this week, some GA pilots got a small taste of what it might have been like. They called this frequently fog-shrouded valley in the Allegheny Mountains the Hell Stretch. It was the first stop on the first transcontinental airmail route. Pilots dreaded it. Now, in 1918, the U.S. Postal Service started airmail between Washington and New York. 2 years later, they were ready to try flying all the way across the country.
100 years ago today, a small biplane, piloted by a brave pilot, took off from Hazelhurst Field, a few miles from here. It's where Roosevelt is now. It was on the first leg of the original transcontinental airmail service.
Tuesday, a small group of pilots, post office workers, and airmail enthusiasts gathered at Republic Airport on Long Island to honor and recreate that first flight.
And anytime you do any sort of research about the airmail, you got all these photographs from the Smithsonian come up of all these pilots in these big coveralls and flying helmets and standing there either chomping on a cigar or jaunty with a cigarette in their hand. And I thought, wow, I wonder what other airmail fields there were.
Bill Moore, an Omaha-based pilot, writer, and historian, wondered how many of the original airmail landing strips still exist.
There aren't that many of the original airfields still around. Chicago's Maywood Field, that became a golf course. The Reno's airfield, that became a golf course. So you've got, just a handful of these places. In fact, the first one is Iowa City, was the first airfield to the west that actually is still an operational airfield.
And that led to Airmail 100 Centennial flights and the recruiting of volunteers to fly commemorative postcards between each of the 16 original landing fields. Well, as close to each of the original landing fields as you can get today.
Today, this kind of marks where aviation came into its own. The reliability, the trust, and everything that we look back on and take for granted today go back to this very moment 100 years ago.
Freeze will fly the first leg from Long Island to Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. Two nice ladies from the post office hand-canceled the postal covers, and many of them from local Boy Scouts. The mailbag is sealed, and Freeze is on his way to November '96. Today's Bellefonte Airport is about 8 miles from that original airmail strip, but the history is well represented by a mural in the family-owned FBO.
But they actually showed a storm coming in from the west, which is typical and often unexpected. And that's why this became known as Hell Stretch, because they lost more airmail pilots in this particular section of the airmail route than any place else.
More commemorative postcards added to the mailbag, and a handoff to the next volunteer pilot. Next stop, Cleveland.
I've read a lot about the airmail pilots from 1920 to 1925, and for me, these guys were heroes. They flew in all kinds of weather. They were groundbreakers, and to be able to trace what they did just kind of gives me goosebumps. I've watched movies of them, I've looked at the charts, and I can't wait to see some of the landmarks as I leave here, because I'm going to fly over the same landmarks, and I literally have goosebumps that I'm getting to do this.
Tom, I got to fly as the backup airplane on that first leg, and it really was interesting, learning about some of that PULSA history, getting an idea of what some of those pilots went through. It really was an impressive feat 100 years ago.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. It would have been fun to be a part of that. I'm glad you got to go.
Yeah, indeed. So, and show off the AOPA airplane.
Yeah, good for you.
Well, AOPA and several other aviation groups are asking the FAA for an extension to the pandemic SFAR. The special federal aviation regulation gives grace periods for meeting proficiency, medical, and certification deadlines that would be impractical to meet due to the pandemic. In a letter to the FAA, the aviation groups are asking for another 2-month extension to the deadlines affected by the SFAR. You can read more about it on our website. And it's amazing what happens when the folks who write the letter also write the checks. Last week we told you that the members of Congress, quote, encouraged the FAA to go ahead and spend the money it had given to create the Aircraft Pilots Workforce Development Grant Program. That's a mouthful. Amazingly, this week FAA announced the program. There's some $5 million to create a training curriculum to address the shortage of pilots and aircraft maintenance technicians. AOPA worked with Congress to get the funding for those grants. Now the money will actually be spent. You can read more on the FAA's website.
And of course, the FAA will have to be busy with this next story too, eventually. In Austria, they're popping champagne corks. Diamond Aircraft said this week that EASA, the European FAA, has just certified the DA50RG. We first saw the airplane last year at Aero Friedrichshafen in Germany. The all-composite 5-seat aircraft has retractable gear, thus the RG in the name. It has double-slotted flaps for a stall speed of just 57 knots. The DA50RG flies behind a 300-horsepower turbocharged, liquid-cooled Continental diesel engine burning jet fuel. Diamond claims it sips jet fuel at just 9 gallons an hour while speeding along at 180 knots. The engine's FADEC controlled, so the pilot has just a single power lever to deal with. Now, Diamond expects FAA certification soon. FAA and EASA usually recognize each other's certifications. European delivery is scheduled for early next year. No price announcement yet. Also out of Europe, Pipistrel's Panthera. It's smaller than the DA50RG, but it's now flying in the U.S. The composite 4-seater is available as a factory-built experimental exhibition aircraft. The design is still undergoing certification. Now, we flew the Panthera all the way back in 2015 in Slovenia. Wright Rudder Aviation in Inverness, Florida. They're the dealer for the U.S. Panthera. Now, the airplane is powered by a Lycoming IO540, making 260 horsepower with a cruise speed of nearly 200 knots. It also has retractable gear. And the out-the-door price for a factory-built Panthera will be between $500,000 and $600,000.
And Pipistrel is taking orders for a cargo eVTOL aircraft. It's called the Nuva V300. It will be hybrid electric powered and can carry over 1,000 pounds of cargo. The vehicle will be autonomous but will have a ground operator to manage the vehicle. Pipistrel says entry into service is planned for the second half of 2023. And speaking of futuristic aircraft, KLM Airlines recently flew a model of a new airliner design in Germany. They call it the Flying V. The designers say the aerodynamic shape will reduce weight and fuel consumption compared to a traditional airliner. Passengers will ride in the wings. The scale model had a successful flight and generated a lot of data about the design. KLM is partnering with Delft University of Technology on the project. Now, they say futuristic, but I don't know. I seem to remember something like that right after World War II.
Maybe so. Forest fires, meanwhile, are continuing to rage across the West, and general aviation airports are continuing to play an important role in the fight. In Colorado, the Glenwood Springs Municipal Airport voluntarily shut down so it could be used as a helicopter firefighting base near the Grizzly Creek fire. AOPA has long pointed out that GA airports can play crucial, even life-saving roles in natural disasters and other emergencies. The airport's role as a firefighting hub comes just a few months after the airport supporters, including AOPA Airport Support Network volunteers, successfully advocated to reopen the airport after a temporary closure because of the coronavirus pandemic.
And the pandemic may be putting a damper on celebration, but here's cause for one. The National Aeronautic Association has named former NASA administrator, astronaut, and retired Marine Major General Charles Bolden as the 2020 recipient of the Wright Brothers Memorial Trophy. Bolden flew A-6A Intruders and served as a test pilot before becoming an astronaut and going into space 4 times over 14 years. Now, he amassed some 6,000 hours of military flight time and 680 hours in space. The trophy will be awarded at an event once COVID-19 allows.
Well, this week we take a moment to remember. Friday marks 19 years since the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. After the attacks, non-military aircraft were grounded. However, one Cessna 172, operated by the Civil Air Patrol, was sent out on an important mission to document the devastation at Ground Zero in New York. A 3-man crew consisting of Andrew Feldman, Jacques Henrich, and Warren Raddatz took off and headed through the quiet New York airspace on September 12th. The crew orbited over the scene, taking essential pictures that were used to analyze the damage, and we had a chance to talk to 2 of the crew members about their memories from that flight.
Whenever you fly out of Long Island, you're looking at the towers of the Trade Center. That was our landmark wherever we were flying. If we were going towards the west, there was the towers. Well, now we had smoke, and that was the first thing that hit me. The cabin crew and everyone in the flight, there was not a sound.
And it was truly devastating. I mean, debris was shot out well over 500 feet or 1,000 feet right into the Hudson River. You could see all the buildings around the Trade Center that had been damaged at least, and some went down. It was eye-opening to see that much devastation. I wish it never happened. I mean, let me preface it by all that. I wish I had never done this because it didn't happen. But it did. And because it did, you know, I'm happy that I was able to be part of a team that took on this challenge and successfully completed it along with Andy and Jacques.
For whatever reason or not, we were tapped on the shoulder to do this. There was no one else available to document this event, and we did it. I'm proud of the fact that we were able to accomplish so much. It put CAP in a different light, and CAP is now doing an awful lot of mission flying over many different disasters. So in effect, what we did on 9/11 put CAP into a new mission.
You can read more about the Civil Air Patrol September 11th mission on our website. We certainly all remember where we were that day.
I certainly do, and boy, that was a terrible time for a lot of different reasons,
right.
But GA was grounded for such a long time. But yep. You know, our former anchor here, Melissa Rudinger, was down at FAA and helped get us back in the air.
Yeah, she did. Excellent.
Well, coming up after the break, some tips for planning that fall leaf peeping flight.
And flying a Zenith home built from home. We'll be right back.
Your plane is a valuable tool. With the Genesis Aerosystems STEC 3100 digital autopilot, you can rest assured you will arrive safely to your destination. The 3100 is the industry's most advanced autopilot for single and twin-engine aircraft, providing exceptional workload reduction, safety-enhancing capabilities such as straight and level mode and speed protection. To learn more, visit our website today.
Welcome back. It's that time of year, or soon will be. Cooler air, crisper nights, beautiful fall colors. As pumpkin spice season takes hold, we want to help you make the most of it. A scenic leaf peeping flight is a great way to socially distance. On our website, we detail the timeline of peak color matched with some destination airports. The best colors will start in late September in Vermont, New Hampshire, and central Montana. By mid-October, whole country will be in peak colors, continuing into early November for the southern states. Florida will cap off the season just before mid-October. We have a full list of fun places to fly on our website. And if you're looking for information about those fall flying destinations, you can now find it on the AOPA app. The AOPA Airport Directory has been a valuable resource for decades, and now you can more easily access it using the AOPA app. You can find details about the airport itself, look at the weather, see local destinations and restaurants in the area. The AOPA app is free and is available for Apple and Android mobile devices.
Well, mark your calendars. The DeLand Sport Aviation Showcase has a new date, January 28th through the 30th. The event was postponed from November due to COVID. Event organizers tell us they are working with health officials and will be putting programs and assets in place to keep everyone as healthy as possible. Last year's event reported $2 million in sales and had $1.5 million worth of economic impact on the DeLand community. You can find more information on their website. And also in Florida, the Holiday Flying Festival and Car Show is planned for December 4th and 5th. It's on the Sun and Fun campus at Lakeland Linder International Airport. AOPA will sponsor a general aviation town hall on the 5th. Your association's leadership will give an update on GA in the era of COVID-19. Top brass from EAA will also be on hand. Event organizers are promising an over-responsible safety focus for the all-outdoor event.
So Warren, a once-in-a-lifetime chance for you on this one. This restoration is a unique one of a kind, and it can be yours. The XP82 Twin Mustang is for sale. Tom Riley and his team spent hundreds of thousands of hours restoring it over more than a decade. Now, you may remember it flew at Sun and Fun 2019. I sure do. The magnificent machine is offered via Platinum Fighter sales for just $12 million. It has only 25 hours since the restoration. So there you go.
Well, I think it's right up your alley. I think it's, the next step after the Bonanza.
Well, yeah, that's true. Just add another engine and a whole lot more airframe.
A whole lot more airframe.
But it sure was fun to see it and hear it fly.
Oh, yeah,
it
was
was
amazing
astounding.
aircraft.
Yeah.
It was indeed.
Yeah.
Well, now to something a little smaller and cheaper. John Humbert built a Zenith Stoll CH-701 that he flies off a short strip on his farm. And despite the modest size and price, he has a ton of fun with it. AOPA technical editor Mike Collins has the story.
John Humbert loves to fly, and he found the perfect airplane to operate from his Tennessee farm.
This Super 701 it really is a blast to fly. I like to, I tried to build it where it was capable on a lot of different levels. I can get in it and push it out on my lawn and then go down the taxiway. I can fly right here just around the farm and have fun, or I could get in it and go to Texas or Florida, and it has the capability to just go pretty much wherever you want to here.
The Super 701 moniker comes from his choice of power plant, a 130 horsepower air-cooled engine from UL Power.
I built the Super 701 from a Zenith 701 kit. Really the reason I chose the airplane, I did a lot of research in the beginning, and it's an all-metal airplane. It's really a lightweight, small frame. I have a farm shop here that I build and keep it in as my hangar and shop all together, so I needed something that I could get in and out reasonably easy.
He found the construction of his first airplane to be very straightforward.
You keep building it, you keep putting these parts together and assembling things until all of a sudden there's no more parts over here to assemble, and pretty soon you've got an airplane sitting here with you that you can push out and go fly. Really, a lot of my favorite flying is just right here, really local. Can fly around the farm. We have a couple of crop fields and some pastures and stuff, and there are pine trees you can fly in and out of and dodge obstacles, and even wintertime I can play around in the crop fields and find mud holes big enough to try water skiing and all kinds of stuff you really probably shouldn't be doing in a nose wheel, but the Super 701 handles it really well. I just got mud all over my airplane. Doggone, I'm gonna have to give this thing a bath when I get done today. I fly around and check on cattle, and when I'm actually flying, I can keep cattle away and get rid of all the potential of running through cow manure and all that type of stuff. One of the things I like to do, and I'm in an area where most of the neighbors and most of the folks are really receptive to it. It's kind of one of those, when they see an airplane fly over, they're in awe of it. So I actually have a horn on the Super 701. It is a lot of fun when you see the kids out running around and people just out in the road waving at you and carrying on. To be able to honk at them and wave back and make low passes, and the fun factors, it's normal form fun factors here. It's just off the charts. I have so much fun with this thing. My favorite form of stress relief is to be able to get out and away and just see the nature as it's intended to be. Every time you fly, something's different and something catches your eye, and it never gets old.
After flying, all he has to do is shoehorn the 27-foot wingspan through his shop's 24-foot door. Mike Collins, AOPA Live.
And you can read more about John and his airplane in the October issue of AOPA Pilot Magazine. And just a note of caution, don't try some of that low-level flying you saw in the video unless you are trained and experienced. And water skiing with an airplane is particularly high risk. An engine hiccup and you might just flip the aircraft, as one experienced backcountry pilot demonstrated on YouTube a little while ago. But that sure looks like a fun airplane.
He certainly has a good time with it, that's without a doubt, and he clearly is good with the airplane. So,
absolutely, yeah.
And
you can see he has a very good touch.
Neighbors are apparently pretty good with it too.
Indeed.
Hey, that's our show for this week. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube.
Or send your thoughts to the email address there on your screen. And thanks for watching.
My name is Terry Carbonell. I live in the Florida Keys on a private airstrip called Tavernero. What I fly is a 182 RG. Wild Mama is her name, 614 Whiskey Mike. SiriusXM is just the best product out there. I fly in the mountains a lot, and ADS-B is a line of sight. You can't get ADS-B, you have big gaps in the mountains, and when would you want to have good weather is in the mountains. I like to fly low. I've flown across the United States at 1,000 feet AGL because it's all about scenery. You can't always get ADS-B when you're at 1,000 feet, but I always have SiriusXM weather and radio. SiriusXM radio is on 24/7 when I'm in the plane. SiriusXM weather just keeps you out of trouble. It's certainly avoiding bad memories. It's nothing like having reliable weather service in the cockpit.